Carl Fagan from Ruggers tot 0 we spoke yesterday and I asked you, do you realize that you're taking over one of the best performing URC teams of South Africa, and now you must convert them in champions? How difficult do you see it's going to be?
Obviously, it's a big challenge, Carl. Good afternoon, everyone, first of all. Great privilege to be here today, and an honor. To come back to your question, there's no illusion of the massive task that lies ahead, to take a team that has been performing not just the last 4 years, but been, champions in Super Rugby, etc. before. So, for me, that's, my task to make sure that we get the team to perform as quickly as we can. So, I can only be myself and do the things that I believe in, and then hopefully that will be good enough to get the team where they need to be.
Thanks.
Ken.
Ken Boren, Sports View. Hi, Johann, welcome. Unfortunately, all the easy questions were taken by Vodacom on Monday, so we have to start with answers, I'm afraid. Just following up from that question, I guess. You inheriting a team that after their last match, the URC final, was basically told that they're not good enough to win the URC. Is that a challenge, and is that a problem, and how do you deal with that?
It's always difficult to make any comments from the outside, Ken. I think that the reality is, if you haven't worked with a player or you haven't worked with a team, it's difficult to make any conclusions. So, for me, the first thing is to get to know each player, each talent, what their strengths are, is what they can do. And then, then you can put a plan in place according to what your players' strengths are, and change tactics and etc. So, I do believe it's a good squad. And ultimately, the biggest thing for me is, it's like we were at the 20s now, and when we got to selection, there was always 2 coaches pulling for one player and 2 coaches pulling for other player, and each guy's got his own view. That will be the same for me. I need to assess the squad and then make a decision on, again, like how we want to play, and that will ultimately determine, where we're going to end up. But is the quality at the squad? Yes.
Thanks, Ronaldo, please.
Ronaldo Botman, Active Field. Coach Ackers, just on that, Jake White obviously signed a lot of players that you obviously coming into the squad now, and you don't necessarily make the decisions to sign those players. So what challenges do you see kind of inheriting a squad that's been performing well, but also a lot of new players coming back to the Bulls, which you necessarily didn't want to sign or maybe not was in your plan? So how are you going to kind of measure that in terms of building a new squad, but you now have a squad for the next season that you have to work with?
Thanks, Ronaldo. I think the thing is, the squad that was playing here, we know was talented, because that's why they achieved what they achieved. The players that came in got the CVs, they talented. The big thing is how they will fit into the plan, and again, sometimes a player excels because of certain reasons in a team and in a performance, and obviously you want everybody to be highly competitive, fighting for positions. But the reality is that when you come to selection, then there's certain things you look at a player and you have to make those tough calls. So, I there's no doubt that, the players that came in, even though I didn't sign them, they're quality players. The challenge is, I made it quite clear to the whole group when I spoke to them, for you to play for the Vodacom Bulls, you have to earn the jersey. And unfortunately, I of an opinion that you can have a 110 test, or you can be an under 20 player. If you do what we expect you to do from a coaching point of view, you're going to play. So that it's not about the players that came in or the players that was, recruited before me. I'm happy to work with whatever the squad is, as long as they fall into our culture and perform to what we want to perform.
Thanks, Brendan.
Because one of the lingering questions here is also about the assistant coaches. Have you made a decision about the assistant coaches, or are you looking to bring anyone in?
At this stage, Brendan, it's honestly, I can just say I'm learning everything on the go now. So I've spent time, most of all, getting to know everybody in the Loftus. Spend a bit of time with Andre on the SNC today, just to get a grip of where's our injured players, what's the near future with the URC guys returning on Monday. How does that integration work with Currie Cup starting on Saturday? Try to watch a bit of the Currie Cup training now, just to see what is a training look at, what is the format, and therefore, I'll have to assess everything on the go and then make decisions going forward on the staff, etc.
MV?
MV Wellman, Megaphone Rugby. You talked about the plan early on. This is very short notice. How much time have you had to think about the plan? What is the plan?
Yeah, no, not a lot of time, to be honest. And probably part and parcel was because, I've only been appointed now a week or so, but also that, my focus was really on the under 20. We wanted to make that a success. And now this is the big challenge, is to get to know how does the systems work with integrating all the competitions into each other, and then start introducing the kind of things you want to do. For me, the main thing is establish where the players are from a team perspective, on how they see the culture and how they want us to be seen as a team, how they we're going to play. If we all agree on that, the style we want to play, the philosophy we want to be, the kind of team we want to present out there, then we can build on that.
Thanks. Did you have a question?
What's the language policy? Can we speak Afrikaans?
Of course you can.
Akers Venter, Capital Media Record. Ek het twee vinnige vrae. Eerstens, dit is duidelik uitgespel, jy is nie direkteur van rugby soos Jake was nie. Jy is hoofafrigter, so waar stop jou magte? Hoeveel beheer het jy oor die totale stelsel om ons in te kry wat jy wil hê, daai tipe ding? En dan die tweede ding, jy het baie goed saamgewerk met Janie Putter by die Leeu's. Maar Henning is nou op die oomblik hierso. My vraag altyd aan die nuwe coaches, wat doen jy om die kohesie in die span reg te kry? Want dit is waarskynlik die belangrikste beginpunt. Gaan jy saam met Henning werk? Gaan jy vir Janie inbring? Hoe kan jy daai ding hanteer?
Is weer, ek dink dieselfde met die vraag oor die afrigters, jy weet, ek dink ek moet nog eers by almal uitkom en myself verwis met elke persoon, en dan kan ek daai besluite maak, jy weet, en op die einde van die dag, rondom die kohesie van die span, jy weet, ek dink dit is juist een van die groot take van 'n afrigter. Jy kan nie daai is net aanvullings, mense wat jou help op 'n vlak wat jy miskien nie kan by uitkom nie. Maar ek moet seker maak die span is gelukkig, ek moet seker maak die bestuur is gelukkig, en dat hulle op hulle beste van hulle vermoë kan presteer. So ek waarskynlik die grootste aandeel saam met my bestuur om dit seker te maak, ons kry dit reg. En dan rondom my pos, jy weet, ja, ek wil net 'n afrigter wees. Ek wil nie 'n direkteur wees nie, ek wil nie weet, hoofafrigter is vir my is altyd reg, want ek wil op die veld wees, ek wil afrig.
Ek dink dit is vir die belangrikste. Vir die meeste ouens vra is, hoeveel beheer het jy oor scouting?
Hoopelik in die toekoms 'n groot deel aan. Jy weet, ek wil graag deel sit met vir my is die juniors belangrik. Ek wil jong ouens deurbring, en ek wil hê die jong ouens moet deel voel van die kultuur en van die unie, jy weet. Dit is belangrik, ons kan nie heeltyd ouens net van buite af kry nie. So ek wil graag saam met almal wat betrokke is by ons junior strukture, die werwing van dit, betrokke wees so ver as wat my tyde toelaat. Jy weet, ek was nou bevoorreg om nou die laaste 2 maande baie skole rugby te kyk, want ek het geweet dit is volgende jaar, en dis waar ek gedink het ek gaan wees dalk, weet, by die onder 20s weer betrokke wees, en ek het baie skole rugby gekyk. So dis nou lekker as jy my nou vra oor die matrieks en goed, maar ek wil in die toekoms weet net 'n noue verband met die werwing hê, en ook as ons 'n speler ergens moet inbring op 'n posisie, nie noodwendig nie dat 'n ou weet dit is, jy weet, jy kan gaan, maar ek weet ek het ondersteuning van Edgar en van Willem hulle en so ja, so ek glo ek sal dit reg is. Ek wil net so bietjie hoor as Willem wees, as ek vaai. Nee, ek ook sal. Nee, ek spot.
Carly.
Carly Koch, Marilla Media. Hallo Johan.
Carly.
Johan, alles het op Loftus begin, eers as speler en nou as afrigter, wat gaan in jou hart aan?
Ja, nee, dit voel nog onwerklik as ek sê dit nie om net om het goed, om mooi te sê nie. Ek my gisterand, om by die huis te kom, my vrou het my eers dieselfde vraag gevra, en toe sê ek vir haar, dit voel nog nie reg nie, en in terme van, jy kan nie glo dat dit het gebeur nie, jy weet. En dieselfde, toe ek in hierdie auditorium inloop, gisteroggend 9 om met die personeel te praat, toe is dit die eerste keer wat ek in hierdie auditorium loop van 30 jaar terug, waar ek hierso gesit het en John Williams en Eugene van Wyk met ons 'n spanpraatjie gehad het en Peer Spies, senior, van sy eerste sielkundige sessies met ons gehad het. En ek sal dit nooit vergeet, hy het ons vertel van hoe hy die wen 3 gedruk het vir die Curriebeker en die bal uit die lug uitgevang het met een hand. En die aand toe hy by die huis kom, toe sê sy vrou vir hom, gaan gooi die asblik uit. Hy is hierdie hero, jy weet, van Pretoria, en almal moet hom op sy hande dra, tot hy by die huis kom, toe tref realiteit om weer, jy weet. En dit het altyd by my gebly om te besef, jy weet, die wedstryd is net 'n klein deeltjie van jou lewe. Dan is daar 'n wêreld buite wat mense daar is wat jy moet reg hanteer, jy weet, en wat nog ander goed van jou verwag. So ja, so die herinnering hierso, ons het hier in die gang, was 'n swart mat wat ons in fiksheid gehardloop het, ons het die Rams opgehardloop. Jy weet, ek het klapwedstryde hier agter gespeel. Daai tyd kon jy nog beklei, want daar was nie baie goed nie. So dit was, dis net goeie herinneringe, jy weet, harde oefensessies gehad, met die ou Noord-Transvaal, en om nou hier te sit, en om te dink, jy kan nou die terugploeg en die oukies afvrug is net, ja, ek dink het sal nog later inskop, want nou moet nog jou eerste wedstryd beleef, en al die goed, so, kan nog baie emosioneel wees.
Sean,
Johan, hallo, Simon Rickert, Radio Rugby. Ek weet, jy het nou al gepraat oor die aanvulling wat jy na sal kyk, veral wat afrigters van betref. Jy en Swys de Bruin het goeie sukses gehad by die Lions, en ons het julle as 'n afrigtingspaar, verskoon die uitdrukking as ek dit so gebruik, leer ken dat julle baie goed saam kohesie kan hê. Is Swys op jou speed dial?
Ja, Simon, ek het nog nie met Swys gepraat nie, weet behalwe oor dat hy vir my geluk gesê het en natuurlik my ondersteun in die, maar ek dink Swys is op 'n goeie plek, jy weet, hy het nou hierdie geleentheid om by SA Rugby betrokke te bly. Ek wil nie sê dit haal hom uit die spervuur uit nie, maar hy is gemaklik, jy weet, hy kan sy passie uitlewe wat afrig is, wat bedoel, maar hy hoef nie juist, ek weet nou in hierdie huidige oomblik, waar hy nou by die vroue rappie is hy in die media se oog, en hy moet vra antwoord, en hy moet goed doen, maar na dit, is sy hooftaak is om afrigters te bemagtig en op te lei, jong speel daar by die onder 20s, ook by die onder 18s ensovoorts, en waarever mense om in Suid-Afrikaanse rugby nodig het. En dit is nog altyd ook een van sy sterkpunte, jy weet, behalwe dat hy so goed is in wat hy doen as hy afrig, is hy goed om die beste uit afrigters uit te haal en hulle te help en by te staan. So ek dink vir die nabye toekoms sal hy graag dit wil doen, en in elk geval, as 'n ou nou regtig sê, Swys, hy is met die World Cup betrokke, en dit maak eers hier einde Augustus daar rond klaar, jy weet, ons praat nou van hoe min tyd ons het om alles in plek te sit voor die eerste VRK wedstryd, so nee, ek sal hom maar net altyd raad vra.
thanks, Nicholas.
Hi, it's Nicholas All from The Citizen. You mentioned the team culture you're trying to create, and having spoken to the group about the expectations, have you met separately with the leadership in the team, like Uwe, Nokia, Marcel, and are they on the same page as you?
Yeah, no, not yet. Again, that's part of the agenda to do meet with some of the players, but not just with them. I'm a big believer of having young players involved as well, you know, because in any team there's your established seniors players, and there's your young up-and-coming players and your middle ground players. And if you only got senior players, the young players will feel they can't run to the senior players if there's something that bothers them, and you need that one or two guys involved there as well. So I would love to speak to, you know, variety of players to get a feel of where we are as a team and culture-wise. And obviously, the Springbok guys are not with us now, so I don't want to really, bother them whether they've got the bigger things to do now.
Thanks, Annemie.
Hallo Johan,
Annemie,
welkom hier.
dankie.
How would you say your career as a coach has evolved? Because since you left the Lions, you went to Gloucester in Japan, and you had all those different cultural influences as a coach. Do you sit here now as a different coach to the one that you were at the Lions?
I wouldn't say different, maybe a little bit more streetwise, a bit more experience, a bit more wary of, of how important it is to include, the different cultures, and also, the importance of understanding that, it's important that the players is on the same page with the demands of the game, like, traveling and so on. So in South Africa, we almost got used to travel to Super Rugby, and it got you see the same places. Once you've been in Auckland, you're probably gonna you see the few places. But in Gloucester, the travel was all by bus, and then that's where the first time I experienced the European demands of going to the French and so on. So, and then the culture was the big thing. You had All Blacks, they wanted a certain style, they wanted to play a certain way. And then you had an English player, and then you had a Scottish player, and they want to play a certain way. So to create that unity and to create that, also put your stamp on it, it took a lot of convincing. So you have to really, be strong in your principles and how you want to play, and also allow them to have input. In the Lions was a different era for me and Swys, because we had a young, hungry group that was almost wanted to prove something coming back into Super Rugby, and they soaked up everything we told them. When I got to Gloucester, you had to deal with strong personalities, strong people that played at a high level, and the same in Japan, so there again you got a lot of cultures, different cultures. You got internationals in I had Liam Gill from Australia, and Israel Folau was there, and Greg Ledlow, and then so there's all this different internationals, and then you have to learn as a coach as well that sometimes there's a possibility that you can learn from them as well and have good inputs there, but the players must always feel that the culture and the direction comes from the coach. So, and then your management of time and your management of players and all those things, I think hopefully got a bit better over that time. But ultimately, I think to be yourself was still the best thing, to bring a bit of dancing and a bit of laughter and a bit of music, and everybody enjoy that, doesn't matter what culture they are.
Thanks, Sim.
It's Nico from News 24. Johan, you've been back in the country for quite a while, probably, I think it was November that you came back.
I came quickly back and then went back, and then in January, yes.
So you've probably watched a fair bit of the Bulls as an outsider. Do you have an outsider's sort of opinion on what that missing 1% is for them to get over the line?
Yeah, I think it will be unfair for me to speculate what that 1% can be, because obviously my track record is not great when it comes to finals. So I lost the 2 Super Rugby finals, and then I went to Gloucester and lost the European Challenge Cup final in the last minute with a penalty kick, and obviously lost a few semi-finals and stuff, and so that 1% is a difficult thing, because it is as much as one referee's decision, it's as much as one pass, the Springboks has won a World Cup with 3 1-pointers, that could have gone anyway, and if they didn't win it, then everybody would say, what was that one missing link? So I think ultimately if you haven't been in the environment, you know, the travel can be an influence. Maybe the tactic could have been an influence. The build up to the game could have been the influence. You know, there's so many things. If I can use it as an example, and it's maybe a boring example, but we will always wonder what would have happened if Kwagga didn't get the red card, you know. But that's one incident taking the whole season, you know, almost apart because you didn't win the trophy. So yeah, so I think it will be difficult for me to say what will that 1% will be. What I can control is the future. You know, I can't control the past, neither my own past, neither the Bulls, the Vodacom Bulls last four years. So what I must make sure is that, you know, the things that I've learned of how important it is to plan well and to get the players to be in a good place and all those things, is that we tick all those boxes so that we can give ourselves that chance to be ready for if we get that opportunity again.
I was going to ask you, obviously, with that shared history between yourself and the Bulls in finals, how do you approach that? Because in many ways, that's what you've come here for.
Yeah. Well, again, you know, I think a big part of that will be is to make sure that the players are playing and enjoying what they're doing. You know, and that getting them to know why they are playing, what they are representing. Give ourselves a chance to make sure we get enough wins to put ourselves in the playoff games. And once you're in the playoff games, then it's what we just spoke about, is those small things that we must make sure we tick and we get right so that the players can perform on the day. Because it's small margins. I know the final this last season was obviously a bigger margin, but in general, it's small things that you have to get right on the day. And definitely stuff that as the season progresses, that we'll make sure we look at to prepare well for that scenario.
Could share a question?
Of course. Kom ons close in media 24. Ek as jy nou verwys na jou speeldae destyds die Loftus. So jy sou baie goed weet dat daar altyd hoë verwagtinge is in Pretoria. Is dit 'n intimiderende vooruitsig of is dit goeie druk as ek dit so kan beskryf?
Nee, ek gaan nie lieg nie, dit is intimiderend in die sin van ek weet die mense gaan kyk, jy weet, die mense gaan my oordeel aan die sukses op die veld. Ek sê nie lelik nie, die media gaan my oordeel. Ek weet, die eerste ding wat gesê gaan word, dat Vodacom Bulls met 'n ander afrigter aangestel het. So ek is onder geen illusie wat se taak voor lê en wat se dit is 'n ding wat ek bewus is van. Maar die een ding wat ek geleer het, Kobus, is dis maar, jy weet, dis maar wat my, ek wil amper sê wat my rigting gee is, jy kan net beheer wat jy kan beheer. Jy weet, ek kan net hierdie volgende minuut beheer, ek kan nie teruggaan in die verlede nie, ek kan niks verander nie, ek kan net doen so goed as wat ek kan, en ek kan net die mense om my hanteer so goed as wat ek kan, en ek kan net die span voorberei so goed as wat ek kan, en die rest moet na homself kyk, jy weet, as ek na my loopbaan kyk, as speler die hoog en die laag, en ek kyk na my as afrigter die goeie tye en die minder goeie tye wanneer jy nie wen nie, jy weet, dit is maar net deel van die lewe. Dit is ons almal gaan nadeer, en op die einde het die Here 'n plan met ons almal. Op die einde is my plan dalk hierso om in een speler se lewe 'n verskil te maak, as ek hom deur X of met X kan help, 'n beter speler kan maak, hom kan help om 'n springbok te word, of hom kan help om sy huwelik te red, of wat ook al ek hom mee kan help, as hy in my kantoor sit, en oor 2 jaar sê, Willem hulle vir my, jy was nie goed genoeg het, dan is dit so, dan hopelik en vertrou ek gaan die volgende deur oopgaan, of die volgende plek, maar ek gaan my beste gee, jy weet, so ek gaan nie laat die druk my verander, en nou op die spelers begin druk sit, en sê, ons moet wen nie, ek gaan die kultuur dryf wat ek wil hê, ek gaan hulle hanteer soos wat ek wil hê, hulle moet gehanteer moet word, en hopelik sal dit na itself kyk.
It's good. Call.
Johann, if I can call it, your trademark is integrity and discipline. And taking into account that rumors are to believe that the players led the revolt against Jack White, how far are you willing to let go of your trademarks to ensure that the players are happy?
No, I think it's a value thing. I think it's something that you just install, and if everybody agreed on it, then you can't turn back on it. If we all agree this is our values and we have to work together from now on, then hopefully nobody will go against that values. Otherwise, hopefully the group will push you outside if you don't live those values. So for me, again, if we're going to establish the culture we want to have, then hopefully we won't have that problem, because I'll have an open door policy where you can come and talk and speak about why are you not performing, or what do I do wrong as a coach, and how do we get a middle ground on that, so that we don't get to a position where players have to be unhappy or integrity is questioned or trust is questioned, because otherwise we didn't live to our values that we established if that gets broken.
Johann, you only got back in the country on Monday, and it looks like you've done an awful lot. Can you just take us through what the last 2 days have been like? Because it looks like it's been busy.
Yeah, no, obviously Monday arrived at the airport, and then at the, grateful for all the support that came out and welcomed us. Then got back, and then came to Loftus to meet up with Edgar and with Willem, and just to say thank you and meet them. And I was thanks to Isuzu, they gave me a nice car to drive, and then quickly took a tour. Although I know Loftus, I never went into the gym area as a visiting coach or so on. So went in through the gym area, showed where all the facilities is, where the office is of the coaches is, and everything. So it was late afternoon. And then I can't remember if we had something on the evening. Why does it feel that I had? Oh, we had Super Rugby. I thought there was something. There was Super Rugby on the evening, and then Tuesday, was 9 o'clock. Came in to watch a bit of the gym of the players. 9 o'clock, I spoke to the staff, then went out again, meeting different people, media, not the media, the marketing people, etc. And then not meeting, but go and walk through there. And then at 1 o'clock, I spoke to all the players that is here at the moment, apart from the Springboks. And then I think this morning already 6:30, we were at Jacaranda. And then obviously I had other media phone calls during the morning, and then now this media. And so it's been just busy meeting and getting myself, used to where everything is.
Thanks, Brian.
I understand you haven't been here long, so it's maybe a bit of an unfair question, but you spoke about how you're going to be judged by the success of the Bulls. Now, one of the big tasks during the season is Champions Cup, where you've got Bordeaux coming here in the first game, the two finalists in the first 2 weeks. Have you had some thoughts about that yet? And how do you approach the European? Because there's been criticism of South African teams not taking it seriously, for instance.
In my own mind, I've started to think about it, Ben, but I haven't discussed it out loud with, with the staff or with the coaches and so on. I think, again, like I said, my plans is maybe not necessarily the correct plans unless you come closer to that date and you see where your squad is from an injury point of view, speak to the SNC how they feel, where certain players are. Because the one thing I actually forgot that until yesterday was the Springboks that has that 8-week compulsory leave thing, that you have to juggle through the season. So that's the thing. If you ask me now, and maybe I'm out of not my time to say it, but if you ask me now, we'll be as strong as we can for those games, so that we can give ourselves a real chance there, especially the first game, to to really push in that competition.
Morgan.
Morgan from Independent. Coach, what is the first major tick box, the first major objective that you want to achieve and that will form part of your playing philosophy?
To make sure that when we decided on, you know, the path forward with the staff and everybody, then, and also with the players now, if I get settled in completely this week, get all the off-field stuff out of the way, that we make sure of what kind of brand we want to play, you know, and then make sure that we put the time aside to get that values and things that is important for me as a coach. You know, I've got certain things that I believe a team must have from a culture point of view that is non-negotiable for me to make sure that the Currie Cup team understand that, and then the URC group understand that.
You want to perhaps divulge what those cultural beliefs
I've already told the players, you know, in the meeting when I met them, is that I want a team that works hard. So if you're not willing to work hard, it's going to be a problem. And I want a team that is a serving team. It's not about you, it's how you can serve the team. So the team first is always important. You know, it's about picking up a thing that lies around, giving somebody water instead of you drinking first water, caring for your teammate around you. I think that is important, and then treat people well. You know, what you get every day the opportunity to treat people. How do you treat them? If we're going to have that respect for each other and that trust, that's important. And then the last thing is, I said, I want to trust you. So if the only way I can trust you, that is if I share something with you and you don't like it, come tell me immediately. Don't walk around and then go tell somebody else. The coach says didn't pick me or didn't come and tell me immediately so we can sort it out, you know. So those things will be important, and obviously the style of play, I don't want to say too much on that, because obviously that is something that we must keep to ourselves, but I'll say that hopefully the supporters will enjoy the style of how we're going to play.
Thanks, Ken.
No, it's been asked.
MV.
Currie Cup coming up, and you said you want to be a coach on the field. That's the golden opportunity. How much hands-on or hands-off are you going to be?
Time will tell, probably, because at the moment, you know, Phiwe is doing a great job, because he's obviously been on his own now for this last few weeks, building up to the Currie Cup, and he's been the voice, you know, there and leading that program. So for me now to come in, you know, I don't want to come in and then suddenly overshadow him and change things. They're on the verge of starting a competition. So I think it will be a great opportunity for me just to be on the back seat here and just to look. And then once I got a understanding of how they see things and how they attack and how they defend and how they maul and how they do all the things, then I can obviously start sharing how I see things so that we can try and get those players prepared for the integration to the URC. But I won't, again, like I said, I don't want to go there from Monday and say, okay, now I'm doing everything. And that's not my style, you know. I want my assistant coaches anyhow to be the voice in their areas. I'm just there to correct, and because we plan before we go out, if there's something I don't agree, either the plan for Saturday or the specific line-out launch or the breakdown drill, they will know it beforehand, and then we change it and we get to a common ground, and then we go, and then they can speak, and then it's a great opportunity just for me to correct a player or to help a player and to give a player feedback and so on. So that won't be now you say nothing and I say everything. It won't be that case.
Any idea about the towards the end of the Currie Cup, you bringing in URC players again like you did last year? I mean, it's an early question to ask and a bit unfair maybe, but your thoughts behind that, using it as a bit of a pre-season.
that is something that have been mentioned to me. That can be a problem. That integration of when do you put the URC players in, and then and it is a bit unfair towards the Currie Cup players, because especially if they do all the hard bits and play all the games. But then again, I've got one or two ideas around that, I'll share that with the Edgar and Willem, and then if they're happy with it, then we can maybe get a way around that. But I'll keep it a secret for now.
Johann het baie lekker gesels vanoggend op Japaranat en met Morten, en ons toe heel wat oproepe wat deurgekom het waar mense sê, ons toch alle jare leesondersteuners, maar nou dat jy hier is almal nou Bulls ondersteuners. Wat is jy daar te sê?
Ag nee, dit is ek is net dankbaar, jy weet. Ek is eintlik verbaas dat mense so ondersteun, jy weet, dat hulle bereid is om dit te doen. Hopelijk bly hulle nog vir die leeu skree, behalwe teen die bulle dan.
Coach Akkers, you've obviously coached all around the world, and this is going to be your first URC season. And looking at the Super Rugby back in the day with the travelling, that's been a big topic the last couple of seasons for the South African teams, having to travel so much, especially with the EPCR as well. Are you going to be relying on the guys that's already here in terms of coaching staff, Andre Forstier, to kind of guide you in terms of the rotation of the squad? You mentioned now that you want to give a bit of the younger guys an opportunity as well. How does that plans fit into your book for now?
Yeah, no, definitely, Ronaldo. I think, Super Rugby was quite simple. You prepare November, December, keep the guys over Christmas, New Year's off, and then start in January, play 2 warm-up games into the competition, and then it repeats itself. Now that you've got this challenge of playing Currie Cup, then URC, then the European competitions, it's a big load. And with the traveling in between, I think I've got again 1 or 2 things that I feel we must consider, and that's where I'll tap into Andre to see what worked for them in the past, and what if my idea a bit crazy of, do you travel as late as possible, or do you travel early like they've done sometimes? So that's the thing that we must throw around, get a bit of information, and what's the best from a traveling point of view, and then make a decision. But again, all depending on the health of your squad and where you see that game. I'll use a simple example. Let's say we do play full strength against Bordeaux, Northampton, and then the next game is the Sharks. So do you then give, like you said, some younger players opportunity to play against that opposition they know more than what they know the other guys, so that's the kind of things we have to think about.
Okay, we'll do 5 more minutes. Thanks, Simon.
Johan, verskoon, ek gaan jou weer in Afrikaans vra. Wat gaan jou meetinstrument wees vir sukses? Gedagtig daaraan dat jy het skielik hier aangekom, en jy moet skielik besluite neem oor alles waaroor ons vanoggend gepraat het. So waar gaan jou meetinstrument lê vir wat gaan vir jou suksesvol wees?
Ek dink daai oordeel gaan vir die ondersteuners bepaal, né? Want my definisie van sukses, en ek loop dit nie nou en vertel om hoe kan hulle sê, 'n bailout te hê nie. Ek sê dit want dit is wat ek vir die spelers sê in die meeting, en dis wat Swys vir jou sal sê ek gesê het by die Leeu's. Omdat ek glo coaching is nie net, ek doen dit nie vir die geld nie, ek doen dit nie vir om 'n status te hê of dit oor my gaan nie. Ek doen dit omdat ek glo ek is gesit hierso. En as ek spelers kan beïnvloed deur ek hier gesit is, en ek kan nie uitstap, en hulle vir my sê, dankie, ons het jou nie meer nodig nie, en ek loop hierdie spelers raak oor 2 jaar, oor 5 jaar, oor 10 jaar, dan is dit 'n handdruk en is 'n omhels, en is lekker om jou te sien. Want dis hoe ek weet as ek nou terug gaan Japan toe, ek kan die boodskappe wys, ek weet as ek nou gaan terug Gloucester toe, ek weet as ek nou vir Franco of Warren Whiteley of Jaco Kriel of Roan Komring, jy kan hulle noem raakloop, dan gaan dit 'n gesprek wees, hulle is my seuns, En dis vir my belangrik. So ek wil 'n plek los waar ek voel ek het die beste vir die spelers gegee, hulle ontwikkel so ver as wat ek my vermoë en my hulpcoaches, maar waar ek 'n verskil gemaak het. As ek dis vir my sukses. Ek weet dis nie waarin ek geoordeel gaan word nie. Ek kan 5 spelers ten goeie help, maar ek kan misluk op die veld en ek gaan vir dit gekritiseer word. Maar in my hart gaan ek hier wegloop en myself aan dit oordeel. So dit is my definisie van sukses, maar dink ek om by jou vraag uit te kom, ons gaan moet bo speel, jy weet hoe. En om dit te doen moet jy ten minste in die uitspele wees, want dan gee jy jouself 'n kans. As jy nie dit eers haal nie, dan was die sukses nie, is 'n sukses nie.
Ek sal dit.
Een van die mooiste rugby stories in die afgelope 10 jaar is die van Jacques van Rooyen en jy was betrokke daarby hoe hy klap rugby gekom het. Hoe geconnect is jy op die oomblik nog met Carlton Rugby in Pretoria en wat is jou standpunt oor klap rugby en die verhouding boontoe?
Ek sal nou lag want Willem sit hier so en hy weet my eerste vraag aan Phiwe die Curriebeker-coach is hoeveel klap rugby kyk julle? Want ons het so 'n paar beserings nou by die groep en daar's 'n bietjie dun op so 'n paar posisies wat hulle nou, dis hoekom van ons onder 20 ouetjies wat maandag geland het speel die naweek, juis oor dit. En toe sê ek vir hulle, maar ek het vir Jacques by 'n polisie game teen tikkies op LC de Villiers stadium raak gesien en hom genooi vir oefening en die res is geskiedenis. So ons sal moet by die klap rugby uitkom, veral nou in hierdie volgende paar weke, want ons Curriebeker span is soos ek sê in sekere posisies dun en as ons beserings kry, gaan ons ouetjies met intrek. Ek dink daar's een skramskakel nou, wat hulle vanoggend vir my gesê, wat van die klap is, wat nou, ja, dink is hy, ja, wat nou klaar bystaan. So ons moet, ek het uit die klaps uit gekom, so klap rugby lê na my hart. So as ons ouens daar gaan kry, of nie noodwendig hier nie enige klap in Suid-Afrika wat goed is, dan verseker moet ons na hom kyk.
Thanks, Annemie.
Congratulations with the performance of the junior box. It must give you a good feeling to know that the junior rugby in South Africa is very healthy at the moment.
Yeah, Annemie, I mean, obviously, when I got there, you realize the talent that we got, and it was a privilege working with them. It was really probably the outstanding thing was the hunger that they had to do well. This specific group, even the players that didn't make the 30, the players that we had to release, they were so hungry to do well. They were so eager to learn and nothing, the respectful was, I don't know, I can't judge any other group before this. Hopefully the future will have the same, but these kids were like, when you come in the mornings, they stand up and they greet you, they look you in the eye, they engage with conversations. Riley Norton is a special leader, and there's a special group, and like I said, to be together so long with no incidents, no bickering. One big thing that I love is a team that is not complaining, and they're one of that groups. They never complained, and Kevin was amazing as a head coach. The how we treat the people as well, and the staff and everybody. Malusi did a great thing on the attack. So yeah, it was just amazing, and the talent is tremendous. If you think the players that we didn't take, I think at front row there wasn't that much. So maybe at front row hopefully there will become some good front rowers coming in the future. The front rows we had was outstanding, and luckily they got through the whole tournament. But that's the one position maybe we can develop a bit more. But other than that, there's outstanding talent.
Thank you. We'll wrap it up with Sim's final question.
Just to stay with the SA under 20s, 3 of those guys have been invited to go train with the Fox. That's Loftus, Chiswell, Eerste, and Hashim Peed.
Yep.
Just your thoughts on each player, please.
Yep. So, Chesy is a special player. He's extremely fast and he's tough. If he needs to run through a guy, he'll do it, even though he hasn't got the size. But he will just take him on, and therefore he's not afraid on defense. So if you give him space, he's gone. You know, he's got tremendous feet and speed. Ashin Piet is an outstanding 9. He was also one of our leaders, and he brings a lot of calmness. So he doesn't get phased. His demeanor is relaxed. And he takes that over into the game. You know, he's relaxed. And then his 2 strengths is probably he's got ability to see space to break. He had 2-3 great individual moments where he turned the tide by his sniping around the breakdowns and making big line breaks and good support runs. He had a lot of assists, and then his box kicking is good. So you know, everybody knows it, but you know, he's in a purple patch at the moment where he broke the Bonds running meters in the World Cup from a 9. So that shows you in what form he is. And then Batu is a big man, you know, strong, good ball carrier, physical. I used him a lot for the malls, and we got him jumping, because when I got him, he didn't jump in the lineouts, so they only used him to run, but now he can jump, so that's great that they can use him there. I would think, you know, on a one-on-one tackle, he can hit you. Probably his biggest work on is that he sometimes tend to think he can keep everybody up because he's so strong, and then he loses meters. So maybe just that tackle fight, and then as you saw in the final, we kept him on for 80 minutes because then he really upped his work rate. But in the semi-final, we took him off because that, you know, he dropped a bit. So if he can keep his work rate up, he's got all the physical attributes to be a very good flanker.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks everybody for attending. We've got a couple of photographic requirements which we'll do now. So.